Welcome to Soccer Radio and Spirit Weavers. Join us as Jody White Wolf Morrison shares with us her knowledge, abilities, teaching us how it's done, right here on Soccer Radio. Brought to you by spiritualistonline.com.
Is a show that's dedicated to introducing wonderful people who are living their spirituality in their behaviors, in their actions, in what they do with their lives. It isn't a focus on what people do, but who people are and how they express their spirituality in their day-to-day living. And I am delighted today to welcome back Joanfrances Boyle, the Scottish Seer. And Joan is a living embodiment of this. So before I say more, Joan, say hi and introduce yourself. Joanfrances, sorry.
There you go. Well, hello, everybody. And I'm so pleased to be here with Jody again, because she is a wonderful host, I have to say. And Colin, who is in the back end, is a very, very nice gentleman right there, supporting in every way at the back end. So I live in Scotland. So who am I? I live in Scotland, and I'm Joanfrances Boyle, the Scottish Seer, which is a title that was given to me many, many years ago. About 30 years ago, by the people up north in Scotland, because I used to travel up there to see family. And when I was up there, obviously, I would do some healing, I would do some readings, and basically help wherever I could. And at that time, there was a gentleman, a very old gentleman, who was called the Highland Seer. So he obviously had been doing this for years. And so they said, well, you can't be the Highland Seer because we've already got one. So we'll name you the Scottish Seer.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So hence, yes. But, from there, gosh, where do you want me to go? Or will I just stop and let you do something else?
Yeah, because I actually have a couple of questions, but
Yeah, I thought that. So
you know me too well there. You know, last week we talked about so many wonderful things, and you told some amazing stories about how you, well, really.
Oh, hello. Lost you.
Can you hear
Hello.
me now?
Oh, what? Yep. I
Okay,
think
good.
that may have been my fault because I had switched on to try and go into the chat room, but I've just put it off. So,
Yeah,
yep.
that's fine. That's fine. So last week we were talking about so many cool things that had to do with how you got to be where you are, how you got to become who you are. And
Mm.
hold on one second while I cough. There we go. There we go. Um, and so one of the areas that we talked about in some depth was the profound impact that firewalking and trust falls and glass walking had on you personally.
Yeah.
And so what that brought up for me was, what other things have you experienced in your life? What other situation or learnings had that kind of profound impact in shaping you?
Wow. Do you know, there is one that comes to mind, and the reason that it comes to mind because it has actually, you'll never believe this, Jodie, but it's came back up just in the past 4 days. And for me, it's a major step, in my life anyway. But here it is. Here's the story of it. And many years ago, when my children were, my daughters now are 42 and 39, or just coming up in
Wow.
42, just coming up in 42, and just coming up for 40. And here's the thing, that they were only about, I would probably say roughly, I'm roughly speaking now, maybe about 7 and 9. Okay. So it's quite a wee while ago. And anyway, I was coming home from the spiritualist church one night, and this shaped my. I had always believed, as I told you, last week and a various other times I've been on here, since childhood, I've been a believer. That's just it's there. But there's certain things in life that will absolutely compound that belief that nothing will shift it. It kind of
Hmm.
anchors you into your spirituality. And this one for me was the biggest one that I have ever experienced. Well, there could be a couple others, but this one's really the topper for me at the moment. But anyway, I was coming home from the spiritualist church and I felt this presence. And it was different from how I felt the presence before. So, because I was coming home, and as I said, I have got two young children, and therefore I was trying to get home so that I've made sure that they were in bed and, ready for the next
Right.
day. And so I just casually said, you're a bit late. I was at the church tonight. It's just me. I don't, I always believe that there's no airs and graces. It's just what you see is what you get. What's on the tin label is what's inside the tin. And so I
One
said,
would hope.
yeah, I said, you're too late. I was there tonight. You should have made your presence known earlier. Now I've got to go home for the kids. So you're going to have to wait. So if you want to wait about, then I'll be, after the kids, I get them to bed, then I'll sit down and I'll spend some time and you can tell me, what you need to tell me. So I could still feel the presence, and I thought, right, okay, that's fine. You're just going to hang about, pardon the pun, and wait. And anyway, got in, got the girls settled, got them to bed. My hubby at the time was night shift, so he had gone off, you see, to work. And so I got myself ready for bed and just went to come from, the restroom into my bedroom. And I could feel the presence again, you see. And I said, "Oh yeah, right, that's right." I says, "Okay, so I'll sit down for 5 minutes." I thought, and meditate, move into that space of merging, find out what was going on. But I got to the just inside the bedroom door, and I our room was at the back of the house, so there was no street lights, you see, and it was very, very dark. And I had blackout blinds up because obviously my husband worked shifts, so he needed the daylight blocked out completely, for
Right.
him sleeping during the day. So the room was in complete darkness and no possible shadows of lights or anything at all like that. And I just went to switch the light switch on, but I never got to the switch, and the whole room lit up.
Ooh.
And I was like, "Oh, that's what I done." I went, "Whoa, what's happening here? What's happening here?" And then I saw these amazing, just like I call them pencil lights, okay? They were just like the size of your pinky, and one was half the size of my pinky, one was the full length of my pinky, and then the other one was kind of in between. The three of them were never the same, but yet they were all little dumpy lights, okay?
Uh-huh.
And the pressure in the room was incredible. I could actually feel my whole body being pressed against the wardrobe.
Wow.
And I was, and you know how they say you don't feel your hair not unless you touch it, you see?
Right, right.
But oh my God, I could feel every ounce of hair on my head. And they say that you don't feel your fingernails not unless you touch them. And I could literally feel the the bed of my fingernails.
Wow.
It was just such an amazing experience, but it continued. And of course, I was like, whoa, okay, and right, and I had to think for a moment to catch my bearings, of what I was going
Yeah.
to say, and at the moment I was also kind of a deep breathing to calm myself down,
Yeah.
and and then all of a sudden it was like I could see the waves of energy in the room. It was like it was as if it was waves crossing in front of me, and I was just completely submerged in them. And
Wow.
like a heat haze in a day, but only intensified 1,000 times over,
Oh
and
my.
and I was like, oh my God, what is happening here, and then I made my way. I didn't need a light. I didn't even put a light on because the room was completely lit up. And just walked over to the bed, and I sat on the end of the bed, and
Uh-huh.
I'm watching these lights dance, literally dance in the room. They were up probably 2/3 of the way of the room, and they were just slightly moving, as if just moving in the flow of the energy, you see.
Oh,
And
amazing.
oh, I mean, and at that point I said, wow, right, so so why are you here? I thought, right, ask the question, why are you here? And because your mind doesn't function
No, right.
exactly as you would want it to. Well, mine doesn't when these things start to happen, and you kind of just go with the flow of what's going on.
Right.
And anyway, I'd asked this question, and it was like the telepathic. I didn't hear it in the room. It wasn't an echo sound. It
Mm-hmm.
was telepathically said to me, and they said, um, "We're here to give you this information."
Ooh.
And I said, "Okay, well, what type of information are you talking about?" You see, and at that moment, as I said it, at that moment, I know it's going to sound bizarre, but I could feel as though the crown of my head was being stretched up the way.
That
And
that doesn't sound crazy. I understand that
well,
completely.
the next part might, but anyway, my crown was being I was so aware. I was so aware of it. I wanted to look up. It was that kind of aware you wanted to look. I felt as if there was something that my crown was connecting to, and there was something above my head, but I didn't want to take my eyes off of these three amazing lights that was there,
Mm-hmm.
tiny but powerful. And of course I'm watching them, and I wanted to look up, and then I said, don't move. And they stopped moving.
Oh, how wonderful. Oh, how
And
wonderful.
at that moment, I was like, don't move. And I was trying to keep one eye. You know how, like, you're trying to do two things with your eyes.
Right,
Try to keep
right.
one eye on them. And I wanted to look up. And for that split second, I took my eyes off them because I realized that they weren't moving. And I thought, right, okay. And I looked up. And oh gosh, Jody, I saw the most amazing four-sided purple translucent pyramid
Oh,
with a flame, like a candlelight flame, but without the
uh-huh.
candle. It was just the flame was burning inside it. I
Oh,
can still, to this day, I have that vision, and it will never, I don't think it'll ever go away. It's so embedded into my thought process. And
wow.
I saw it, and then I saw this little one next to it. It was like half the size, but it had no flame in it. And and I turned back to them and I said, "Oh, why has that one not got a flame?" And it was sounds so bizarre, But I was more concerned because the little one didn't have a flame inside it.
Oh, poor thing.
And what they said was that it was the one with the flame that was going to be downloaded.
Oh,
Well, they didn't use the word downloaded, they used the word
right.
transferred. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So it was going to be transferred, transmitted actually was the word that they used, transmitted. And the little one was for later in my life, which they were transmitting but not activating at that point.
Oh, wow.
So the light would automatically function when the time was right, you see. So that happened, and I have to say it was instant. I just all of a sudden had this, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I had this awareness, and it was like they had turned on this light language of communication, and I could actually feel my whole body and thoughts, everything just change instantly. And
Oh,
I just felt so humbled
yeah.
is the word that I'm going to say. And it, and then of course, you know, part of my investigator's head came in, and of course then I said, well, so who are you? Who, what, you know,
Uh-huh.
how do I know who you are? Because I can't see your form, and you know, you're just a light, and I want to know who you were and what are you and where do you come from? And you know, I started asking
Yeah.
these questions, and I was told that and this is going to sound really bizarre, but I was told that one of them was me from a different form, different planet,
Uh-huh.
warm place, and I needed to understand the this information. And at that moment, um, the next thing I said, but I need to see you because I've always been a seer, you know.
Right.
And I said, I need to see you. And the next thing I knew, that the three lights just disappeared. And I turned round, and this golden ball was right next to the other side of my bed. But this golden
Oh.
ball was moving, it was rotating,
Ooh.
and it was only like, I don't know, maybe 3 feet, you know, 3 feet in distance away from me.
Oh,
And again, the room was still lit up. But this golden ball, I was so aware of it, and I could see, although it was a sphere of energy, but it was like moving in the inside. It was kind of a like blah 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 blah, you know, as if you could see the outer part was a sphere, but the inner part was all moving.
oh, neat.
And then I was kind of a starting to hyperventilate at that point, I have to say. And, as you do,
Understandable.
as you do. And then it's as it was rotating, it was as if something was coming out of it and making it bigger. And it just kept, as I call it, kind of a like pouring out and lapping over to the side, you know, as if it was just coming out of it. And it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but not in a round way. It started to
Right.
take a form shape. And I was really hyperventilating at that point and telling, you know, speaking to God and how you would see God, your God. And I was saying, I know you're not going to give me anything I can't handle, but oh, you're pushing the boat. And,
Yeah.
and I just kept looking, and the more I looked, the more it was taking this form, and then all of a sudden I realized it was the trunk of a person's body fully clothed. It had clothing on it, but the clothing was like way from Hebrew time. It was like
Uh-huh.
old clothing, weaved clothing,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and it was solid. It wasn't transparent. It wasn't glowing. It wasn't. It was just as though if we were standing with those clothes on,
Uh-huh.
and,
Uh-huh.
and then I realized I could see the hands, as if the hands were just down by their side, you see, and the whole trunk of the body now. And this golden ball was in as though it was its solar plexus.
Uh-huh.
And then at that moment, I really have to stress I was hyperventilating big time. I was trying to hold it together, and um, and then I saw this face come out from what I would term as the golden ball of solar plexus, and
Mm-hmm.
it started to move up as if it was moving up to take its position. You see,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but it was when and if you've ever saw, like, you can get all these apps now, and you can get the long face, you can elongate the faces.
Uh-huh.
Well, this was
Uh-huh.
like a really elongated face. I could see the mouth, I can see the eyes, and I could see the eyes looking at me.
Wow.
And it came from the soap, and it was kind of at the chest neck area. And as it was moving up, as if it was going up into position, and I called out stop when I saw the eyes in the face, and I realized that this is a person. It was materializing right in front of me. And I was like, whoa, stop, just stop a minute. I was like, and it did. It stopped.
Uh,
And
uh,
I looked at it, and as I was looking at it, I could see this person stare back at me. And I wasn't terrified. I wasn't terrified. I wasn't threatened, and I didn't feel threatened in any way. I was just hyperventilating. It was as if it's like, can you take this on board? Can you really take
right.
this on board? And I found myself saying, I'm sorry, but I can't handle this just now. I really can't handle it. And the only thing that happened at that point was I could hear this voice telepathically tell me, in time you will. And
Oh,
just at that moment, the face went back down first, and it was as if it repeated this action going backwards and reverse. And then the golden ball, everything went back into this golden ball. It rotated a couple of times, and poof, it went. And the minute
wow.
it went, the room was pitch black.
Oh,
And
wow.
I honestly, I never even got off the bed. My legs were shaking, my whole body was shaking, and I just, I was sitting on the end of the bed. I just put myself into the bed. I lay down. I pulled the covers over me, and I remember saying, um, God, I don't know. I really don't know what you were doing there, but just I really need to go to sleep now because I feel exhausted, and just protect my kids and protect me, and that was it. And I went to sleep. I just went to sleep. Now you would think that you'd be
Wow.
wide awake all night, but I went to sleep. That was it. It was as if I just zonked out. Got up the next day. I have to say, I did have a tremendous headache,
Yeah.
and and I I kind of asked, what's this? And then I was asking, at that time, I was asking all the people who had been doing spiritualism for a long, long time, years of experience. And I'd say, what do you think this was all about? And they would just look at me and they would say, oh my God, I don't know. And then somebody would say, oh, it's the power of manifestation, or they would say it was materialization. And, it was all these things. So for many, many years, that experience really shaped me, because after that, I received amazing. When I say I received, it was as if I knew it. But all of
Hmm.
a sudden, as if it was released to me, as all of it, I would have it as if it was like the clear cognizance. You just knew
Right,
things. And
right.
I started teaching these things, you see. And at the time, in the spiritualist churches, you might know yourself because of your many years of experience, that in the spiritual churches many years ago, going back the 20, 30 years, you couldn't really speak about chakras, and you couldn't really speak about a few different things, in there. And because they believe so strongly, or the ones that I went to believe so strongly, it was only spirit, and you could only talk about spirit and spiritual healing, and that was it. They didn't go for anything else at that time.
Joanfrances, did
Yeah,
anybody admit that something similar had happened with them?
never. I've never had anybody say to me that, oh, I've had that experience. And I have asked thousands, believe you me, I've asked thousands. But here's the thing that happened that I think it's important for me to say. But anyway, I started teaching all this stuff, and that was great, because it was all about healing and chakras and the communication from the body to the mind to the spirit, and beyond, and the dimensions, a lot to do with different dimensions. And people, I think, thought I was off my head at the time, but now they don't, because they're all
Right.
talking about dimensions and chakras, and everything else. And the chakras have been around for, thousands and thousands of years, but the different levels of chakras and different levels of communication. But anyway, what happened 2 years ago is apparent to what happened all those years ago. And 2 years ago, I started to receive information about uh, connections to extraterrestrial, okay, which I've had over the years. I've had different experiences of that. That can be another topic. But a couple of years ago, I had these experiences of where I was being told about teleportation.
Aha.
and I kind of don't follow particle science as a scientist, but I'm interested in it, you see. But
Uh-huh.
I'm not, I wouldn't say I was greatly versed in it, but I have a bit of knowledge of it. And anyway, so I thought, oh, yeah. So I had a wee look at particle science, and they had, um, they hadn't really done much, about particle science, you see, and not about particle science, about teleportation.
Uh-huh.
And I think I read somewhere, I may be wrong on this, but I think I read somewhere that scientists had only managed to teleport some form of, and I don't know if it was cells of a human, or just some form of food, of a human,
Right.
just
Right.
just a just a few inches across a room. So they hadn't really mastered it in any shape or form. And of course, lots of people were saying, oh, you couldn't do it, and this and that and everything else. So I thought, right, okay. Anyway, I was teaching a chakrograph class. And if you want, I'll send you this graph, okay? So that you can see it. I'll take a picture of it and send it to you. But what happened was, in this class, because nobody knew in this class I was having these experiences, because I hadn't told anybody. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, at that point, um, in the class, this group, and then they needed another person to do a graph on. And I says, well, you could do one on me. And they said, okay. And at that point, I telepathically asked this question. And I said, okay, if teleportation is to be something that is part of my pathway, then show me something connecting to it in this graph, you see? So when you do chakra graph, I don't know if you know how they're done, but you choose the colors for the chakra, and then the graph is actually made. And of course, at that point, you're able to see, the images within the graph, and then the reader reads it, you see.
Mhm.
Um, And of course, then it was a case of they'd done this graph, and of course, because they were just learning, they opened they opened the graph up as they had finished it, and lo and behold, here was this graph, and all I could see in this graph was a human form being teleported out of the auric field.
Oh my.
And I have this graph here, okay, and it's signed by the two girls who had, who was doing that graph, and or who was doing my graph, and so I was like, oh my god, I just on it, it was like one of those moments where you could knock you over with a feather,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, oh my god, am I really seeing this? And then the other girl, she turned around and she went, oh my goodness, that's like a person in the middle. She says, look, you can even see the spinal cord. And I was
Oh.
like, there's the rib cage, and you can see the lungs, the shape of the lungs as well. You can see the feet, you can see the legs, and the hands are straight up in the air. So as if they are, going straight up, as though you were going to dive off a diving board. You'd put your hand straight up, and then what I saw was this alien face, which looked like an elongated face. You see,
Like the one you saw back then?
exactly right.
Yeah.
So I'm standing and I'm looking at this graph, and all I could think about was, oh my God, they're really talking about me doing this. So,
That's amazing.
so the time went on in the class, and one of the ladies who had done my graph, her husband came to collect her, and he came in because we were all still talking about the graphs and this and that and everything else. So he came in to find out, you know, was she okay? Was she coming? Was she going to be here for, another long time or what? And of course she says, come in, come in. Can he look at this? And I says, yes, of course. And of course she says, look at all the graphs and look at this one. And she says, what do you think that is? And he said, oh, he says that's DNA, physical human form, the code for physical human form of transporting DNA. And I said, so say that again. I says, how do you know that? And he says, well, there's the code. He says 010 is a scientific code for transporting human DNA.
Ah.
And I didn't know that. I honestly did not know that code. Call me stupid, whatever. And it was like, I
No, no.
didn't know it. And I says, where is that? Because I couldn't see it. And it was so plain. It's so plain. Right at the bottom of the graph, it says 010. Now, you have to remember that we don't draw these graphs. They're
Right.
done in a specific way, that you do the same thing for every single person, but the graph comes out completely different for every single person, you see?
Uh-huh.
And of course, I'm looking at this and I'm going, oh my God, yeah. So this was 2 years ago, or about 2 years ago. In fact, the date is actually on. I'm looking at that picture right now, believe it or not. In fact, it's not 2 years ago. It was September, is that, of 2016. I'm going to check that date as I'm speaking to you. And anyway, whatever the date is, there it's there. The 1st of the 5th, 16. Okay. So it's just over a year. And so at the time, once they all went away, I was so taken by this. I thought, I have to sit down and meditate on this. So I sat down and I started to meditate. And before the girls went away, I actually told them to take their phones out and take pictures of it, so as that, you know, nobody could say in the future that it was altered in any shape or form, but you couldn't alter them anyway, you know, but so that they had a recording of the original, you see. And so that was fine. And they went away and I started to meditate on this, and I said, you know, I asked the question and you've given the answer very, very clearly, very plainly, couldn't get any plainer. And they said yes, it was part of the transmission.
Oh, that's marvelous. Joanfrances, believe it or not, more than half the show is gone. Would you like a quick break? No. I know. Would you like a quick break? Let's take a real short break, and then we'll come back, because you've opened up something I really want to ask you about.
Oh, good. Right.
Okay, Mr. Producer Colin, take it away.
We are taking a break for messages from our sponsors. Don't go anywhere. Jody White Wolf Morrison will be right back with more from Spirit Weavers. Spirit Talk with Julie. Spirit's medium, Julie Simpson, and guests delve into the world of spirit, the faith and the way of life, renewing the movement that brought two worlds together and ancient spiritual beliefs to the forefront of society, proving once and for all there is nothing to fear in talking to spirit. Live in the SOC Radio chat room on spiritualistonline.com, or simply listen in at tunein.com and search for SOC Radio. Join us on SOC Radio. Host your own online radio show. We welcome inquiries and ideas for your own show live right here on SOC Radio. Share your knowledge, thoughts and abilities. Bring your ideas to life with us here on SOC Radio and spiritualistonline.com. Or join any of our shows as a special guest, speaker or presenter. Check out the liveliest spiritual chat show, the Spiritualist Open Circle Panel Forum, a monthly discussion show, or the Circle of Mediums, a weekly show sharing spirit messages and teaching all aspects of mediumship and psychic abilities. Or join our Christina on the monthly astrology show. Contact us now at socradioshows@gmail.com. SOC Radio aims to provide a wide range of hosts, shows, views and opinions, while endeavouring to maintain our three vital principles of openness, honesty and integrity, covering all aspects of spiritualism, mediumship, healing, personal and spiritual development for all faiths, religions and walks of life as a way of life. As part of our spiritualistonline.com, Spiritualist Online Network and Lyceum, SOC Radio brings you the latest and honest news, views and names in the spiritual field. Check us out and tune in to SOC Radio on spiritualistonline.com. Join in the SOC Radio chat room on the website. Advertise with SOC Radio. 10, 15, 20 or 30-second jingles, adverts or promotions, all going out live on SOC Radio. Promote your services, churches, groups or events at the best rates online. Work with us on shows or promotion and you could get your jingles absolutely free. For this and more, contact Julie at socradioshows@gmail.com. SOC Radio welcomes you back to Spirit Weavers with Jody White Wolf Morrison.
Welcome back, everybody. I'd like to give a shout out to all the people who are listening on SOC Radio, the folks in the chat room, and the people who are listening on TuneIn and other devices. Welcome back. We are talking with Joanfrances Boyle, the Scottish Seer. And Joan has been sharing an absolutely amazing series of events that have been separated by a lot of years. And Joanfrances, there's a comment in the chat room which says, I've seen a crystal purple pyramid like that before. Mine is the flame at the top of my pyramid. And somebody else actually originally saw it for this person.
Wow.
So that's
Oh,
an interesting spin on things.
And
Oh
of
my.
course, four-sided pyramids, as far as I have been informed by my higher guides, is that they contain knowledge. They contain encoding. So they're full of knowledge, and it's about the code that is contained within. And it's like how I was told, like when the flame is lit, it means that the encoding, it has the element of fire, it has passion with it, and it will come forward, with the element of passion. So you would be, you're going to be passionate about what you do and what you say in that way. And yeah, so
And
it's wonderful.
passionate about what you're learning. Now, you said when we were on break that this is okay. The first thing you talked about happened a lot of years ago.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Then this experience was about almost a year ago,
Yep.
and you were just saying that this is now has really become active again in the last few days.
Just in the last few days. I'm actually,
Can you briefly explain that, because I want to go on to yet
yeah,
another
I'm
topic.
I'm gobsmacked that you brought this up at the beginning of the show. So anyway, just a few days. Well, at that time of the graph, I did speak. I spoke to a few people about the energy. I actually displayed the graph at the Royal Concert Hall at a big exhibit that I was at. Lots of people talked about it. Everybody was amazed at it. And then, of course, life kind of took over a wee bit and kind of took my attention, in other directions. And then on Saturday evening, well, it was Friday evening, I was doing a platform show of mediumship. And at the end of it, the girl who was organising it all, she started talking to me. I know her well. I've known her for years. And she says, God, we haven't caught up for ages. She says, how about, she says, tomorrow night? And I said, yeah, okay. And she's known about this teleportation and various other things. And anyway, we talked about different dimensions. As you do, you write the world. And through that, it sparked off the conversation about teleportation, because we had done this dimensional reading for each other, and mine was all about this dimensional teleportation energy. And I was like, God, I says, that was like nearly 2 years ago. I says, and nothing else has happened since. So I just left it, you see. And then on Monday, I was being filmed for a different thing that I'm doing, and the girl was doing a soul plan on my life, you see, but she didn't know me, so she didn't really have. And all I had to do is give her my name, and it was something else. And believe it or not, it's all done through the Hebrew side of things.
Okay.
And we were filming this, and what came up in this soul plan, she says, oh, I've never seen anybody's plan like this in my life. She says, and I've done hundreds of these, and it was all on film. And she says, you're actually a living element of your life. She says, you are living your soul plan. And she says, and look at this. And right at the top of this soul plan, it said that I had the opening I can't remember word for word now, but it was something like I had this opening of channel, which was straight to source, which would act as a teleport for me to work with all universal energy and different places. So
that's I want to go there. I want to talk about that with you.
And then today, just to finish it off, because you're part of this now, right? And today I received a text message from that same woman, and she said, "You're not going to believe this." She says, because she was a bit, she didn't not believe it, but she says, "God, that would be something to teleport human form from one place to another." And I says, "Yeah, wouldn't it?" I says, "That would be fantastic," you know. and I still was half believing and not believing. And then she sent me this text saying, "You won't believe this." She says, "I always start my day and I have this big library, and I ask to pull a book, go to a page, and I read the top section lines, you know, just at the top of the page, and that's her inspiration for the day." And she pulled a book this morning, and what was on that page was, "If you want to walk on water, then you go to your NOAD. If you want to teleport, well, what will you do? Come and connect with us, and we will teleport you."
Okay, now before I go on with this, I think we have people somewhat really fascinated. So I want you to tell people briefly how they can reach you, and then we're going back to extraterrestrial and teleporting and that kind of thing, because we only have about 14 minutes.
Right. Okay, they can contact me at www.joanfrances.com, which is my website, and they can contact me through the webpage, or they can get me through Facebook, which is www.facebook.com/The Scottish Seer / and that will take you directly to my business page. They can get me by email, which is info, that's INFO, at joanfrances.com, and Francis is spelt with an E, not an I. Or they can catch me on my cell phone, which is would be +44 for the United Kingdom, and then it would be 783-225-1798. And I'm quite sure you'll put it all on the SOC radio thing, won't you?
It'll be on the ENCORE show. Thank you for sharing that. Now, what I want to say to you is a couple of things here. First of all, it seems to me that you were talking earlier about the more traditional spiritual churches in UK.
Yes.
And it seems to me that over the last maybe 10 years or so, the definition of spirituality has enlarged enormously. It's no longer only spirit people who passed, our guides, communicating messages. That's still the cornerstone of it all. But there's more going on. And it seems that a whole lot of that has to do with a spiritual perspective of the multiverse, the universe.
Yes.
And what I wanted to present to you and ask you what you thought of this, my experience and understanding is that we do teleport, but we are not aware of it at the conscious or 3D level. That teleportation has gone on always. What's changing is that more and more people are becoming aware of it. What do you think of that?
I think it's fascinating. We could talk all night on this subject. But, but what I'm going to say here is that I think there's different levels of what we would class as astral traveling, remote viewing, and target remote viewing, and then teleportation. So for me, for my definition on it is that we when we go into a meditation, we can move out into the astral auric body, and
Mm-hmm.
we become accustomed to that, and then we can move, we can go places, we journey, within our meditations. We can do all sorts of things like that. I believe that we telepathically teleport, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that would mean that, say, through meditation again, or through sending healing, because I've
Mm-hmm.
had where people have said to me, oh my God, I opened my eyes and you were standing at the side of my bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I believe that we telepathically teleport, in that way. And then, of course, we can go to the power of remote viewing. So again, it's like a teleporting of our energy. So we're sitting in a chair, say I'm here in the UK, and I could be teleporting over to Australia, America, not teleporting, sorry, as remote viewing,
Mm-hmm.
to different parts of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and be walking through the streets, and I do it with people's houses when I do psychic property surveying. No matter where they are in the world, I'm walking through their house, and then I write a report up, about, change this or do that, or look at this infestation here, and all manners of things, because we can shift our energy just in that
Mm-hmm.
way. Then you have target remote viewing is slightly different, because we're looking at target areas, and we're, sometimes that can be, there's a different element to that. So we'll just
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
remote viewing there for a wee while. And then, of course, teleportation in its entirety would be
Right.
to dematerialize the human form and rematerialize it somewhere else. So that's my understanding on the different ways of teleporting. So it's what they're now speaking, or they, meaning my higher, guides, is that they're talking about the full dematerialization and rematerialization. And I'll tell you why. When I was actually having this conversation today, and I had said to my friend who I was speaking about on Saturday night, and I was telling her what happened with this text that I received from the other girl, telling me about this
Mm-hmm.
thing that she had this morning. And of course, we were laughing, and she's like, woohoo, you're going to do it. You're definitely going to do it. She said, because that matches my dream that I had last night. So she tells me about that, which we won't go into. But anyway, it was about her standing saying, you've did it, you see. And I
Oh.
says, well, do you know what? That's 3 times in the past, few days. So I'm looking for that fourth tick, you see. So they're going to
Uh-huh.
have to bring this topic up again
Well, here we are.
today. Today, I only said this afternoon. I says, if they bring this topic up again, I says, then that's it. I will go for it big time. But here's the thing, and I want to add this in so that everybody has a very clear picture on this. When that teleportation picture through the graph appeared a year and a half ago, okay, I sat down in meditation and I said, are you serious? Are you telling me that you wait till I am, at that time I was 58. I says, do you wait till I'm 58 years old? I says, and then you tell me that I'm going to have to do this teleportation or go into this teleportation? Why didn't you do this when I was earlier, when I was young and I had all the years to, experience it and have fun with it and everything else? And then I was playing this violin to them. And they turned around and they said, but we did. We came and we showed you.
That's
And I
right.
says, no, you didn't. I says, because if you did, I would remember. I'm sure I would remember being shown how to teleport, from one place to another. And they said, yes, we did. We'll remind you. And that was the evening that they showed me.
Oh, that's
And and then
fabulous.
and then they showed me another 4 times through the course of my life of where teleportation could have taken place.
You know, what excites me so much about this, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest, is that we, excuse me, as as more and more of us
Mm-hmm.
how do I say this? Evolve, maybe is the
Yes,
best word.
yes.
Um, More and more people are having experiences that even just a few years ago, we
Oh,
would have found, we wouldn't have even shared it with our spiritual
mhm,
friends.
mhm,
There is so much more
mhm.
to spirit, to the multiverse,
Well,
than even the spiritual ones who are somewhat awake are
mhm,
aware of. And we are all, I just feel this so strongly, and my guides affirm this to me constantly. We are all on the cusp
oh,
of a
of
giant
greatness.
leap.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
Well,
is, hearing your stories about this
yeah.
is so motivating for me,
Mhm,
because it's not, maybe motivating isn't the right word. Maybe the word is validating for me,
mhm. Yes.
that
Yes.
there are so many, I mean, people are coming to me with dreams of
Mhm.
being with people who are entities who are not human,
Yes.
but who
Yes.
share in the
Mhm.
spiritual oneness that
Mhm.
we're becoming
Yeah.
aware
Yeah.
of. I've
Yep.
experienced that personally,
Yep. I
as a
have.
member
Yeah.
of a galactic.
Mhm.
I was part of the Earth um, contingent of folks who went to the galactic, in essence,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
galactic Olympic Games, and it was a series of dreams over 5 nights.
Mhm.
And when the event was over, I've never dreamed of it again. And I've talked endlessly with upstairs about this.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so many are talking about these things.
Mhm.
And just, I just find it amazing. And I am so grateful to you for sharing these experiences. And again, we could go on for another 2 hours, because each topic opens up the next, which
Yeah.
opens up the next. It's the proverbial lotus
Mhm.
opening up.
Yep.
And I'm
It's.
just so grateful to you for sharing all of this, because I think we are going to find there are so many others who are going to say, oh my, oh my,
Mhm.
I've had a similar experience, or I've had an experience that feels it was different, but it felt to me the way Joan Francis described feeling.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the more we're willing to share
Yes.
these absolutely breathtaking experiences,
Mhm.
um, I think the more rapidly we will be able to teleport.
Yes. And we're in the super. Well, it's the intuitive super era now.
Yes,
And this is where we are. There is no getting away from it, and that's exactly what you're explaining. And it's that whole moment of saying, this is just the precipice. We're at that
right.
precipice of where we're
Right.
just ready to jump off and
Yep.
not know where the next experiences are coming from. But yet, I can guarantee they won't be like what we've been experiencing in the past, because we are
Exactly.
pioneers. And that was
That's it.
part of my chart that girl revealed. She says it's right there, it's written across your chart. You're a spiritual communicator, teacher, but you're a pioneer in it, and you're always going to be there to lead the way. And that really, it really touched me the other day.
That's really
And
powerful stuff.
it really
I
is.
feel a little bit like the people in the 60s and 70s who woke up and said, oh my gosh, I am not crazy. I'm hearing and
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
experiencing people
Hmm.
who have passed on, and they experienced themselves
Hmm.
as pioneers, and they were, in
Hmm.
that sense. And of course, there were hundreds of people who came before them. And
Hmm.
that's the same experience that I think you're having now, I'm having now. Actually, believe it or not, we're out of time, Joan
Ah,
Francis.
no, I know. And I was going to say, but this is just the tipping point.
Mhm. And here's to more and more of us finding
Oh,
each other
yes. Yes.
and sharing about this,
Hmm.
because it is the new frontier
Oh,
spiritually from my
definitely.
perspective.
Yeah.
So thank you, my friend. Go
Spiritualism
ahead.
is changing
I think so.
rapidly.
It's growing, it's enlarging. It
Oh,
doesn't in any sense diminish the
no.
exquisite wonder of connecting with a loved one or a friend who
No.
has passed on. That is
Mhm.
still the bedrock,
Yes.
but there's more, there's more, there's more, there's more. And that's what's exciting. Joan
Mhm.
Frances, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your life with us.
Oh, thank you, Jody. And thank you for Sock Radio for this opportunity. Thanks to Colin in the back room. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. And you have lit up my heart tonight speaking about
Oh,
this. And
I am so glad.
yeah, and I feel like crying now, so I'm going to go.
I know. And actually, Joan Frances, I will connect you with some other people who are doing similar kinds of work who I think you will find fascinating.
Oh,
So
thank
our show
you.
today will
Oh,
go on. We will
oh,
go on.
oh, yes, I love that. Yeah, thank
Yes.
you. Thank you
All right,
so
my
much.
friends. Thank you all for those listening in. And we will see you next week at the same time and the same place. Have a wonderful day and a blessed week.
You have been listening to Jody White Wolf Morrison, Spirit Weavers on Sock Radio. Brought to you by Spiritualists Online Network and Lyceum at spiritualistonline.com. Thanks for listening.